So today I'm talking about the Eisenhower matrix and the Moscow method. And no, they are not obscure references from a Cold War novel. What they are two of the more popular productivity systems out there. But this won't just be talk. I'm going to be trying out each of these bad boys and pitting them against each other to get a first-hand feel for their pros, their cons, their strengths, their weaknesses, and how they all stack up and compare, so that you can get a sense for how these systems might work for you when it comes to maximizing your productivity. If you like what you see, do push that like button, subscribe, and comment beneath this video. I'd love to hear your productivity recommendations and things that you might want for me to cover in the future. The Eisenhower matrix and the Moscow method. Things that everybody likes about them. First, they're visual. Now, humans favor visual stimuli. Our brains are adapted for it, and without getting too deep about it, that occipital lobe to the rear of your brain is responsible for housing an incredibly sophisticated network of neurons called the primary visual cortex, which, as you might have guessed, is great for visual processing. And what's ingenious about both the Eisenhower matrix and also the Moscow method is they make great use of this little cognitive quirk by allowing you to prioritize your tasks in a very simple look-see kind of way. You can literally see and therefore more easily process where each task is going to need to sit in your list of to-dos. Secondly, they're simple. There's no 6, 7, or 10-step formula. There's no elaborate planning. These systems represent the ultimate productivity shorthand. They help you quickly sort your tasks according to clear priorities and just get on with things. Let's get into each of the individual systems themselves. So, what is the Eisenhower 4D system exactly? Basically, you start your day by dividing each of your tasks for that week into one of the following 4 categories. You've got delegate, which is tasks that you need to pass on to others. Do, tasks you need to dig into yourself. Discard, which are tasks you need to jettison from your to-do list altogether. And defer. And these are tasks that aren't a priority right now. Each day, your time will be divided between delegate and do. At the end of your day, you'll review your progress using all 4 categories to track your progress and prep for the next day. Now, I really like this because this means having a clear shutdown routine to end the workday. But let's see how this works in practice. All right, so here I am on a Monday morning, getting ready to set up my week, and I'm going to be using the Eisenhower method in order to do that. The thing that I do like about this, as I was referring to before, lovely visual little template, which I do appreciate. And as you can see, my week ahead is looking pretty messy. Yeah, let's dive into this. Let's see if we can use this tool in a helpful way to try and clear a little bit of headspace for me, if for nobody else. All right. So as you can see, yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff here. Mostly content tasks this week. So let's see, audit data or media. So that's something that I do need to do this week, to be fair. So that's going to go in the do box for now, I think. Research SEO. It's a big project, so I'm tempted to put it on defer, but it is something that's pretty immediate and pressing as well at the same time. So I'll put that in do for now, and we'll see if we reassess that a little bit later on. Build analytics dashboard. That's definitely not going to be me. I'm not doing that. It's not my skill set. So we'll put that in delegate for now. Yeah, I can still see that I'm very much a bit of a hoarder here with the tasks. Yeah, okay, I'm comfortable with do. This is all stuff that I need to do. It's all stuff that's very immediate for me. It's all stuff that I actually don't need to rely on anybody else. It's not contingent upon anybody else. Defer feels pretty full as well, but I've not put anything into discard yet, really. I've not been willing to stop hoarding. Okay, maybe I can put that into discard. I don't need to flag the missing sidebar elements on the website just yet. It's not a major issue. My head is feeling genuinely clearer. I think before I actually had all of these tasks just sort of like swimming around in my head, like very vaguely, and knowing that I had a busy week coming up, maybe feeling a little bit stressed about it, like what am I going to do and how am I going to be able to fit everything in? Whereas now I actually feel like I can do that. And I know what I need to do next, and I know what I don't need to do next, and I know how the week is going to be looking. So that's the 4D Eisenhower matrix. So what's the Moscow method? Similar to the Eisenhower matrix, this approach is all about those visual quadrants. So the difference is the categories. So this time you divide your tasks into must, should, could, or won't, hence Moscow. So musts are non-negotiable tasks that need doing today. Shoulds are important tasks that can wait. Coulds, these are non-urgent tasks, worth doing, but if you get ahead. And won'ts are all the things that you need to delete from your to-do list. Let's see how the two systems actually play out. Okay, so this time I'm using the must-go method for how to allocate and prioritize my tasks for the week ahead. And as you can see, I've got my tasks already allocated in each of the quadrants, and I feel quite comfortable with this. I think with the other system, I kind of did a second pass, whereas with this, I feel like everything is where it belongs and where it needs to be already. So as you can see, I've got my task here. I've got my drafting, a lot of research and drafting type items in the shoulds box. And a lot of things that I obviously can just execute on right now in the must box. And then what I think I really appreciate about this system is the fact that I can see what I need to do now, what I need to do next, and what I'm going to be doing later. I feel like it captures everything that I need to be thinking about in terms of how I'm going to prioritize my time for the week ahead. So I think one of the things that I really do appreciate about the must-go method is the language. It's more natural to my own speech and to my own vernacular in terms of how I communicate about whatever it is I'm doing anyway. So must, should, could, won't, they're just words that I'm going to use in my conversation. So it just feels easier for me to associate the tasks that belong to each of those quadrants and place and allocate them there. I guess the other surprising thing here, at least to me anyway, is that there's more things in my won'ts box than was in my discard box in the Eisenhower system, which is quite curious and interesting to me. And I think maybe not having the option of being able to delegate out or outsource out or thinking in that particular kind of matrix or way, it just kind of clarifies things for me and allows me to actually kind of shunt things off my to-do list a little bit more easily than the previous method. They're not pressing, they're not immediate, and they're not connected to any of the things that I need to be doing next anyway. So they don't need to be here. They don't need to be on my to-do list. So yeah, I like it. I like it. Typically, how much time do you spend sort of sitting down thinking about what you're going to do and what you need to do? You know, you procrastinate, you and ah about it, you sort of think, okay, maybe I'm going to do this, maybe I'm going to do that. And just having a system where you can actually allocate time in an intentional way for just doing that meant that I wasn't doing that throughout the entirety of the day or through the course of the week. I'd already done that process at the start of the week, and it set the trajectory for the rest of what I needed to be thinking about. So I really enjoyed that about both systems. In terms of like what's going to be my plug and play system, must-go method was definitely that for me. Although if I'm trying to develop myself a little bit more, probably the Eisenhower matrix is a good one for me to be using at the start of the week, where I begin to think about who am I going to be collaborating with, what do they need from me, how can I help them, what do I need to brief, how do I need to delegate, all of that type of jazz. That's the cool thing about the language, is that it begins to shape the way you're thinking, which means that you begin to very instinctively and quickly start allocating tasks. I think what's important about both of these systems is that you need to really have a strategy in place for when you're going to be using them. If you only look at this once a week, that's not really a system, is it? It's not really a process. It's just something that you're doing for the sake of doing it, and you probably forget about it by Thursday. But if you're actually continually, perpetually returning to this and actually reviewing it on a continual basis, now you have a very locked in and clear way and process for how you prioritize tasks as they come in and how you prioritize what you're already working on as well. It keeps your head clear, keeps your mind free, which means that you can use your brain for the things that you ought to be using it for, like creativity, like imagination, like forecasting, like trying to come up with solutions for things that you're actually working on currently. You can start really beginning to shape and frame the way in which you think about life. If you have a long-term goal, you start learning how to plot a strategy or a pathway to that goal in an easier way. And you begin to learn how to protect your time as well, because now you have a framework to protect your time with, rather than just having the avalanche of things that are coming into your life and not knowing how to really kind of prioritize and shape the way in which you want that to work in your life. So whether you're talking about new habits or new skills that you want to learn a new language, which I've been wanting to do for the longest time. I've wanted to learn French for the longest time because my sister speaks French and I don't. A little bit jealous, issues, we won't go into that now. Whatever it is that you want to do, having these systems, they create a framework that you can begin to deploy and utilize throughout your entire life, not just with work, with everything that you're doing. If you want to see more content, there's 2 here. Click in, find out more about productivity and creativity, and I will see you soon.